Hey y'all, it's Riot. Welcome back to Weekly Hyperfixations. This week on the docket, it's a little all over the place. If I'm gonna be so real with y'all. Um, Mainly because I focused on specifically one thing this whole week, and it kind of made everything else blur together. So I've tried to remember what happened this past week. Um, and up until this point in the week, but we'll see. Basically. Okay. So first and foremost, this is something that I found out before going to bed last night. Um, so I found out, I guess would that have been on Yeah. So on St. Patrick's Day is when I found this out for context. Um Saw 11's been canceled, which I'm sure is old news at this point, but it's been canceled. Which is really funny because I may not have seen any Saw movies, and I may not know a huge amount about the franchise, but I do think it's funny that a movie about corporate greed was canceled by corporate greed. Um my condolences to fans of the Saw franchise, because that probably means it's over, which sucks. um Another thing that happened this morning is Lego and the Pokemon company announced that there are going to be Pokemon Lego sets. Say goodbye to any future money I get. Uh-oh. Yikes. So that's fun. Some things that I did fixate on this week, they're mostly pop culture to the font of movies and TV, music, and fashion. So functionally, Hollywood things plus fashion. Because last week was Paris Fashion Week, so there's some residual from that this week. So to start with the fashion things, and I was not familiar. I am woefully unfamiliar with a lot of the names behind brands nowadays, like who's running it, who's creatively directing it. But I am a little worried for the company, but I trust she picked good hands to put it in. Donatella Versace has stepped down from creative direction, and is now just global ambassador. And of course, Donatella Versace headed the company after her two brothers who founded it. So that feels like a very big moment. And I know that, like, it feels like a big moment, but to me it doesn't feel as impactful. And I do think that's because I'm an American, woefully an American. But alas. And then Jonathan Anderson is leaving Loewe. First of all, did not know it was pronounced Loewe, so that's cool. But to be fair, I wasn't super familiar with the company in general. And then as I'm seeing all of the things that he has done, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I have seen things. I just didn't, I didn't know the artist behind it. Because usually when they say, oh, who are you wearing? Instead of saying the person who designed it, if it's from a bigger company like that, they usually just say the label, like Loewe. So Jonathan Anderson is leaving Loewe. Found out he's leaving Loewe because he's going over to Dior, which is interesting. Um, I'm really interested to kind of, look at things Dior has done up until this point, this past year, let's say. And then after he starts his work with Dior, to see kind of how those things change. Because it's very important in terms of fashion when there's big shifts like this. So, very excited to see where those things go in the future. To touch briefly on music, Chappell Roan's The Giver came out. And this is one of them moments where I went, only Chappell Roan seems to bring out the Georgia resident in me. Because when I sing along to The Giver, I don't sing along to The Giver, I sing along to The Giver. You know what I'm saying. Same thing happens with Pink Pony Club, because goddamn if I cannot hear my own mama's southern drawl 1,000 miles away. But it's so good. And I believe I talked about the advertising for The Giver last week. Also extremely good. So I'm very excited to see, we're kind of getting little sneak peeks of what's to come. And the song Subway, which is currently unreleased, will eventually make it to the light of day all the way. Which is exciting. Ooh. Okay. There's a couple things, and I have to pick the order of how to talk about them. Okay. I believe they had like the children and family version of the Emmys, I think. Which, by the way, One Piece live action soundtrack, and then one other One Piece live action thing. They got 2 awards, basically. Hell yeah. Very exciting. But also, I am a chronic Rick Riordan book enjoyer. I own pretty much every book up until 2022, because it doesn't feel right to buy a new Rick Riordan book and not be able to put it with my other ones, because my other ones are back home. So there's that. But so naturally okay, here's the thing. I haven't watched the Percy Jackson show because I was so scarred by the movies as a kid. But I know they have a good grasp on it. Walker Scobell as Percy appears to be a very perfect choice in terms of that kid's mentality and shit. So that's huge to me in general. But also, fun fact, on the carpet for that awards show, he talked about how season 3 was going to start filming before season 2 came out. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. First of all, you don't have to wait as long if you start filming the next season before the previous one even releases. So there's that. But also, this is how TV used to be done. It used to be like this all the time. They're so confident in their season 2 that they know they're getting a season 3. Like, we used to know that all the time. Like, it's interesting that we've had to circle back to that. Excuse me, that we had to circle back to it. And that we walked away from it in general in the first place. I don't know why we did that. Kind of stupid. Anyway. So that is excellent. And also, I think in my heart of hearts, I know I'm just worried that they will mess up. I'm more worried about season 3 than season 1 or 2. Because season 1 or 2, anything is better than those first 2 movies with Logan Lerman and what is her name? Alexandra Daddario? Something like that. Anything is better than those 2 movies. I'm not worried about season 1 and season 2 of this show. I have not seen season 1. I trust. I have merch for the show, but I haven't seen it. I got the camp shirt. Of course I do. But what I am worried about is my favorite character in the original 5 books, who is introduced in the 3rd one, and I'm very worried about him. And I think after they, release season 3 and we all know who Nico D'Angelo is, I think I'll be able to watch it at that point. Because I trust that anything would be better than season 1, or season 1 and 2. I trust anything would be better than the original 2 movies. But we have no frame of reference for beyond the Sea of Monsters. And I'm worried because Nico D'Angelo, as I was growing up, was a very important character to me because he is queer, and because of everything that happens with his sister, where, your main protagonist has a moment that's not very main protagonist of him and he doesn't handle it well. And that's good. First of all, that's good. But also, I'm so worried because it really ramps up. It starts to ramp up into, like, these kids gotta lock in. You know what I mean? So, a little worried about it. But yeah, I trust. These books have been my heart and soul functionally since I read them when I was 9 years old, or read the first one when I was 9 years old. So yeah, very important to me. No, I do not listen to the musical Epic. Warrior of the Mind is cool. Don't like what they did with Calypso, because I know the mythology behind it. So, but I do love Calypso in the Rick Riordan books. But that's because she gets with my homeboy, and that's good. Sorry. Okay. I need to lock the fuck in. Speaking of, little side tangent. The meme, can you lock the fuck in? And it's just whatever character. I need you to know on my monitor right now. Right now on my monitor. Hopefully this will be visible on camera. Very... Can you lock the fuck in? I have Kurt Wagner on my monitor. He's my main motivator, man. But I do also have... I play Marvel Rivals now. I did it. I play Marvel Rivals now because I want to be okay at the game by the time season 2 rolls around, because they're likely going to be adding a lot of X-Men in season 2, and I really want to play as the X-Men characters. I'm not good with the ones that they currently have in the game, so I would like some more opportunities. But because I play Marvel Rivals, sometimes a gentle, kind motivator like Kurt Wagner is not enough. So I have the most annoying kid on the planet. I have Scott Summers next to him in the same meme format. I'll put him up on screen. I also made some other ones that I taped above the TV that the PlayStation is hooked up to. So anytime my partner plays currently Bloodborne, but any Souls game, he has to look at Han from Stray Kids, his bias, and Mr. Worldwide. As I was presenting these to my housemates, I was like, and we got Kurt, and we got Scott, and we got Han, and then we got Dale. I don't know why I have a cough today. I don't know where that came from. But I keep laughing hard enough that I start coughing. Okay. Anyways, that's my little tangent about the can you lock the fuck in image. Back onto movies. So, and I may have mentioned this last week, actually. Let me check. Maybe. I don't have it written down, but there's a chance that I mentioned it last week. But Sadie Sink has been supposedly cast for the MCU, but now we know that she's cast for Spider-Man 4. So, you know, everyone's trying to scramble to figure out who she's gonna be. I'm gonna check. Did I talk about it 2 weeks ago? No, I just yapped about etiquette. Sounds about right. Anyway. First of all, a lot of people are, you know, guessing who she's gonna be. They're like, is she gonna be a normal Spider-Man character, like MJ or Gwen, or even like Mayday, or, you know, stuff like that. And then there's the prevailing theory that she's actually cast as Jean Grey. And now I'm gnawing at the bars of my enclosure. Please, 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 more X-Men stuff, please. First of all, I think she would be an excellent Jean Grey. Not just because she has kind of some of her role as Max on Stranger Things, and I haven't seen all of it, but it's very clear that part of her role, well, it's honestly really her dynamic with her character Max and Lucas. That dynamic is giving Jean and Scott, and I will stand by that. And, you know, she's done some horror things before outside of Stranger Things, which is, to me, Stranger Things is a little more towards sci-fi nowadays, whereas the original 2 seasons were very much more horror. But I really, really, really hope that Sadie Sink is Jean Grey and not literally anyone else. Well, I would take her being like Mayday, like an alternate universe, an AU Mayday. Because she does kind of look like that, but also I think it'd be really cool if we could have more X-Men stuff, please. I beg of you, hand me, where are my X-Men? So that's the vibe there. Okay. Ooh. This is a big one. I've texted 5 people about this movie today because I didn't hear about it until last night. And then I saw either a teaser trailer, I think a teaser trailer, or something like that today. Or I believe it's called Minimalists or something, or Materialists. Hold on. If I look up, it's Materialists. And yep, it's by A24. And listen, I refuse to call it a love triangle because if it was a triangle, the men would also be into each other, okay? In this case, it's a love corner where a woman's being backed into a corner. But nonetheless, there is a movie coming out called The Minimalists, and it is a quote-unquote love triangle. Not really. Or at least not that we've seen. Between, y'all get ready for this one, Dakota Johnson, so the 50 Shades of Grey woman, and the men in this movie, you may ask? Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans. This movie's gonna make bank, dude. I'm not one to watch movies like that in theaters, first of all, or at all. Also, it's kind of labeled as a rom-com, which confused me a little bit because I'm like, to me, rom-com enjoyer, Nora Ephron fan, you know, You've Got Mail, When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, all those movies, that's a rom-com to me. There are very few rom-coms past the year 2000 that I will watch. And so far, there's only 2 rom-coms past the 2000s on that list. It is 27 Dresses and 10 Things I Hate About You. They both have numbers in them. Just realized that. But, so I'm very wary of anything labeled as a rom-com that has come past the year 2000. But I'm willing to hear it out. I would like a full trailer instead of just this little thing we got. But that does sound like everyone in the movie theater is just gonna be gnawing at the bars of their enclosure, which I think would be really entertaining. But that's the kind of movie I would go see by myself. Like, I feel like it would be weird for me to go with someone else to a movie like that. Even if it is a rom-com. I don't like watching rom-coms with well, I guess I wouldn't watch a rom-com with a date, is what I'm saying. I don't like that. I like watching rom-coms with my girlies. Eating comfort food or dessert or chocolate or something, and then watching a rom-com. Anyway. So that movie is gonna get a lot of attention real quick. So that's fun. What else do we even have on here? Oh yeah, I mentioned it briefly at the beginning, but this past week it was really hard for me to do my notes for this episode because I had mostly been focusing on one thing most of the week. I had been predominantly focusing on planning a D&D campaign the whole week. Even as I was like, I played Marvel Rivals like once or twice during the week, one of them being literally 2 days ago. But but I was mostly thinking about my D&D campaign because we're finally getting to the point where we can actually do the campaign. One of the players is having finals right now, so obviously we're not doing it right now. But I've dialed in, we have to do a session 0 because none of them have ever played this game before. 2 of them have seen exactly 1 session of D&D. Another in the party, there's 4 people in the party, so 2 of them have seen 1 session of D&D. One of them has seen several full sessions of D&D via podcast. And then the other player like vaguely knows what it's about and just wants to learn the game and play the game. That's the person going through finals right now. But I've planned out a session. This doesn't really matter to a lot of people, but basically I've planned what I'm calling session 0. A lot of people, when they say session 0, that means that it is like a prologue. It's like a prologue to the campaign. The campaign being a story. So most people have session 0 be the prologue to the preface to the actual story. I'm not using the session 0 as that. My session 0 is basically running them through the base mechanics of the game so that they can kind of have a grip on what to do before we start the actual game. So, I'm going to run them through, I've set up like a little fight for them to do so that they can get used to how those work. And then I've also set it up so that so that we can also sorry, there was a car outside that needs to tighten their transistor belt thing. They need to tighten their transistor belt. But I've also set up a couple dialogue ideas, conversation ideas to help them with the part of D&D that is not fighting things. I also am going to probably make, because I only have 4 players, I'm going to make them all little versions of like either a trinket they have, or like one of the characters has a jar of teeth. So I'm going to get a jar and make little fake clay teeth. And so just so everyone has something cute that's small, but it's physical and it's about their character. I really like the idea of being to bring little items to the table in D&D, which I've never gotten the opportunity to do before. It kind of feels like preparing for a classroom, if I'm so honest. It feels a little bit like classroom preparing. Because, you know, I don't have to hand out like any packets or any physical material. So I'm like, it's like teaching math and they in like kindergarten and they give you all them little clear colored dots. You know, it's like I'm buying stuff that goes in the classroom but isn't the material. That's what it feels like to me. So that's really fun, but I've been, as you can tell, I've been very, very fixated on that. I got a text from my brother this morning that was like, you know, asking me about my birthday because my birthday is next month. And I was like, well, all of those things that you listed, I am confirming, yes, I still like those things. Also, I'm going to be DMing my first campaign, which I've never done before. And the reason I'm DMing, by the way, is because no one else at the table has ever played, and they don't feel comfortable being in charge of a game if they've never even played it before, which, understandable, have a great day. But, so, I have, like, dice and stuff, but, it's all it's all I've been thinking about for, like, a week. Okay. I think I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the pyramid for this week. So I've said this is a silly pyramid. It's not that silly, actually. I ended up finding, I thought it was gonna be a lot sillier than it actually is, because I was struggling to remember, like, people or characters that have been relevant to me this week. It's kind of like that feeling that some people get during test taking, where the second you know everything, you know all of the material, but the second you're directly asked about it, you blank. That's the kind of vibe I had with the pyramid this week, except for our number 1 slot, which keeps happening to me, where I'm extremely confident about who I'm putting in the number 1 spot, but I'm not at all. I don't even know who to put on the rest of it. So, actually, the silliest soldier on this pyramid is our first spot on the pyramid. The first spot on the pyramid is going to Johnny Storm, otherwise known as the Human Torch. He is only on this pyramid because that's who I am trying to learn how to play in Marvel Rivals. He is silly. That he did get a they tweaked it a little bit so he's easier to play, which is helping me a lot. But also, I did fairly recently watch the Fantastic Four movie where Chris Evans is the Human Torch, and that was very funny. So bonus points for that. Also, found out that my favorite artist that I've seen do DC art, I know from Nightcrawler fan art. Found out, lo and behold, he's also done some fan art of Johnny. However, the craziest thing is the first picture I ever saw of the new DC Absolute Flash design is officially done by that same guy, Nick Robles can have all my money, actually. Because his art is so good. Also, he draws Kurt with a beard, so there's also that. But yeah, Johnny's on the pyramid. He's my quote unquote main until they give me more X-Men to work with, and then one of the X-Men will inevitably be my main. I'm hoping one of the I'll be so real. I really want to main Nightcrawler if they put him in the game. However, due to the fact that he's likely going to have swords and teleporting, I do not think I will be good at that. And I think he will be a difficult character to play, so hee-hoo. But also, I haven't actually played with other people yet because I'm kind of nervous about it. I've just been playing randomized matches against bots, which is good because it's letting me get a grip on a character and kind of getting me used to how a real match is supposed to look without having to stress out, really. Also, Marvel, please fix the memory leak issue. I want to play the game without it killing my CPU and taking all of my RAM. I want to have Discord open at the same time, please. But anyways, that's why Johnny's on the pyramid. Next up on the pyramid is actually full-blown theater kid. She I only know her from what I keep seeing her in. But I think it's a huge deal in terms of theater to be in a new musical that is so unbelievably popular right off the bat, because you are going to be the face of that character. You are the example for how to play that character. Her name is Jasmine Amy Rogers, and she is the lead of the Betty Boop musical. As far as I've seen, the costuming, the makeup, the wig, everything is so good. The puppet of the dog is so good. And the music style I really like. It's really, really cute. And I'm so excited about it. And it's weird as a theater kid, you know, I grew up, you know, the most musicals people would talk about in the middle of high school, Hamilton came out. So that, but outside of Hamilton, there weren't a huge amount of quote unquote newer musicals that I'd really heard of. I'd heard of, you know, Legally Blonde, Wicked, I mean, I guess Dear Evan Hansen and Be More Chill, but I don't really care about either of those. I'll be so for real with you, I do not care about those. I do like Two Player Game from Be More Chill, and I like the idea of Be More Chill. Do not like Dear Evan Hansen. Morally questionable. Like, highly morally questionable. Plot-wise. Or, I guess not plot-wise, but in terms of the character, like, the main character, no. But pretty much any other musical I heard about was like Sondheim or the other guy. Or like Rodgers and Hammerstein. So it's really interesting nowadays to be seeing new musicals that are just being conceptualized. It's really interesting to see, actually, because I never put together that, you know, they have to come from somewhere. And I don't know why that just wasn't a thing I thought about when I was younger, but it's really interesting. And it takes a lot of people. But overall, I think Jasmine Amy Rogers is doing an amazing job. She's really nailing it, and I'm very, very excited about it. So, that's why she's on the pyramid. Next up on the pyramid, we got Dochi. She's back, I'm pretty sure. Right? Oh, maybe it wasn't last week. 2 weeks ago. She was on the pyramid. Dochi's back on the pyramid. It is 100% due to the song Anxiety, and it is 100% due to the recreation clip with Will Smith and I watched that show. Why can't I remember her name? I can't remember her name. But they recreated that one scene, which is where everyone on TikTok has gotten the dance for, and but it was really cute, and also bringing in that nostalgia again. What did I tell y'all? Anyway, so that's why Dochi's on the pyramid. Also, it's Dochi. She's cool. Let's see, what else do we got? Okay. We're on the second row of the pyramid. Next up on the pyramid is a member of Stray Kids. I haven't talked about this one before, I don't think. I don't think I have. But it's Felix from Stray Kids. Lee Felix is on the pyramid because he walked in a Louis Vuitton show, and I just kind of fixated on excuse me, how I just really like it when a K-pop idol who, you know, is usually performing and singing and all that, I like when they do other things that are really cool, and being in a fashion show constitutes as one of those things that I think is really cool. Similar to last week on the pyramid, we had Seonghwa from ATEEZ. I just think it's really cool because it's not super common for K-pop idols to do this. I just really like seeing it. Also, just the fit in general that they put him in. I haven't seen any K-pop idols in a walking a show that has been holding something before, and that's not like a huge deal. I just like, he's carrying this big bag, and that seeing that was how I realized that I haven't seen any K-pop idol holding anything on the runway. Again, from what I've seen, so there might be, I just don't. Yeah. So, that was really good. So that's why Felix is on the pyramid this week. He's a real one. Also, the bonus mixtape is coming out soon. A little worried for my friend's sanity because there is a song by the same two that in Stray Kids that did a song called Red Lights. They're doing another song that looks to be the same tone. I think my friend's brain is going to break. So shout out to that. Next up on the pyramid, she is on the pyramid for literally the silliest reason. I do not know what this girl looks like. I'm going to when I find a picture for you guys to be looking at right now. But next up on the pyramid is F1 racer Chloe Chambers. I don't know anything about F1 racing aside from how like the racing part works. Shout out to my dog for shaking around with her collar right then. But she's on the pyramid this week. Chloe Chambers is on the pyramid this week. Literally because she, in an interview, was complaining about the fact that she couldn't remember her credentials to log into Archive of Our Own, the fanfiction website. Shout out to her. I also want to point out that I've seen several TikToks about this, and all of them are girls pointing, or whatever, at the article that talks about it. And the audio is the song from the 2001 whoa, I almost said Disney, not Disney at all. The 2001 Barbie movie, Princess and the Pauper, you're just like I'm just like you, you're just like me song. Yeah. So that's why she's on the pyramid. I actually haven't read any fan fiction this week, surprisingly. But man, I felt that in my soul. I was like, if I forgot my AO3 credentials, I would lose it for at least like 15 minutes. Because, I can just reset password or whatever. But, woo! But the Chloe Chambers was also worried about like, but what about all my bookmarks? It's like, yeah. Oh man. So she's so high up on the pyramid, even though before editing, I do not know what this girl looks like. But she's on the pyramid regardless because I recognize that emotion that you're going through. So that's why she's on the pyramid. And then the top of the pyramid, easiest slot to fill, literally noticeably, because this happened last week too, where I wrote the person in the top of the pyramid, I wrote them on the pyramid first and then took forever to write the rest of them and wrote it in a different pen. First and foremost on the pyramid is Chapel Roan. It's not just because of the song The Giver, but also because in interviews talking about it, she wanted to address, she's not trying to like bait any of the country music community into liking her music or anything, but she thought it was a little it was a little ingenuine to call herself the Midwest princess and not do any country related stuff. Also lesbian country song, so there's that. Also the video is really cute. It's got all of her different outfits, construction worker, lawyer, plumber, dentist, all that. It's really cute. And I'm really glad that she's willing to be so open about like, this is why I did this exact thing. Because she recognizes that people could try to give her flack for it if she doesn't explain it, which sucks that she has to explain it. But also, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you feel like calling yourself Midwest princess doesn't feel right until you've addressed the Midwest part of the statement, then yeah, man. I mean, whatever. Listen, some people act like it is so much deeper than it is. And I talked about that a lot last week, I think, about how it's just like etiquette to just not be weird about it. Oh, no, I think it was the week before last. Yeah, it was. It was the week before last. Episode 9. I talked a lot about that idea of like, hey, y'all, not that deep. Okay? It is not that deep. It can be, but it does not have to be, So that's our pyramid this week. She's capping out the pyramid. Let me fix that. There we go. So this next week, I'm hoping to pay a little better attention to other pop culture things going on around me, because I'm not working on D&D this week. If I'm working on any D&D stuff this week, it will be physically making things out of clay. So I'm hoping that helps. But again, There's nothing that I would not do to help us get more X-Men movies if I could. If I had any say in that, you bet your bottom dollar we would have more X-Men content. We would have more X-Men movies. I just wanted to reiterate that. That wasn't really related to what I said before that, but you know. Um Also, you may have noticed this. I've never played a game like Marvel Rivals with a computer and mouse, and turns out holding down mouse buttons can hurt your wrist. So I'm trying to save my wrist before something goes terribly wrong by wearing a brace every once in a while. It is helping, to be fair. But I'm a little silly about it. All right. Anyway. Like I say every week, thanks for your viewership. It's what motivates me, really. And you know, also just tracking kind of how pop culture moves via what is relevant to my mind is really cool, and it's already had a big shift even just within the first 3 months of the year. Concerning, also cool, more concerning, but take what you can get, I guess. But that'll be our episode for this week. I'll see y'all next week. Let's see. I'll see y'all next week. Same time, same place. I mean, it's called a schedule for a reason. I mean, I don't yeah. There's honestly not much to it. If you liked it, give it a like. If you want notifications, give it a subscribe. Click the bell if you really want full notifications. Pretty much every week all I do is a singular video and a singular community post. So I'm not going to flood your notifications with stuff. But regardless, I hope y'all have a good day, regardless of what you're doing. And I'll see y'all next week, I guess. That's all for our weekly hyperfixations, so bye y'all.